keep something sacred. You don't owe the world your story. Not every detail, not every scar, not even the truth. In a culture addicted to exposure, with cameras in every pocket and oversharing sold as authenticity, stillness becomes power, and silence becomes a strategy. This isn't about being distant, it's about being deliberate. The more they know, the more they assume. The more you reveal, the more they think they own. But some things aren't meant to be handed out. They're meant to be held, protected, respected. This isn't about secrets, it's about sovereignty. These are 7 things you do not need to explain, reveal, or bleed for others to see. Not because you're hiding, but because you're home. Let's begin. Part 1. Your past battles. They see the surface, but they don't know the war it took to get here. You don't need to broadcast your burning to prove you've healed. Your story is yours, not content, not connection, not currency. Some will ask about your pain, only to feel better about their own. Some will nod with fake concern, just to memorize your weakness. But true strength, it doesn't demand sympathy. It doesn't look back. The most powerful men don't perform their survival. They build on it, without applause. Let them wonder, let them guess. Not every scar needs a spotlight. Some are meant to be silent and sacred. Be proud of your healing, but keep the medicine to yourself. Part 2. Your future moves. Dream in silence. Build in shadow. Let your work be the first announcement. Every time you speak your next move, you open the door for noise. Judgment. Doubt. Distraction. Not everyone clapping is on your side. Not every listener deserves your strategy. Execution loves silence. Vision thrives in darkness, until it's ready to step into the light, complete, untouchable. Stop posting your blueprint. Start pouring your foundation, because your life's direction isn't a group project, and your dreams don't need spectators. Hold your plan close, sharpen it in private, then strike without warning. Silence isn't weakness, it's precision. Part 3. Your deepest values. Not every belief needs to be debated. Not every value needs to be defended. Some things are sacred because they stay untouched. When you reveal your code too soon, they won't honor it. They'll test it, poke it, push it, try to find the cracks. And when they can't find one, they'll manufacture doubt, just to feel in control. But your values aren't for validation. They're for direction. They're not loud. They're not flashy. They don't need to be posted or preached. They just need to be lived, quietly, consistently, without compromise. Stand in what you believe, but don't hand it out like proof. Protect your principles, like they're bone, not clothing. Because the moment you make your morals a topic, you invite people to edit them. Hold your truth, live your line, and speak it only, when silence won't do. Part 4. Your inner struggles. Not every storm needs an audience. You're allowed to hurt without explaining it, to bleed without broadcasting it, to fight without making it a post. Pain is sacred, so is the process of holding it quietly, privately, until it transforms you from the inside out. The moment you expose your inner war, you invite commentary from people who've never fought. They'll offer advice, project their fear, compare their shallow scratches to your deep wounds. But not every struggle is meant to be seen. Some are meant to be endured in silence. So the growth is clean, untouched by noise, unaffected by pity. Speak when you must. But know this, the loudest strength is the kind that holds pain and turns it into power without needing anyone to see it happen. Part 5. Your family wounds. Not every bond was built in love. Not every blood tie is sacred. Some wounds came early, before you had words, before you could fight back, and you've been carrying them ever since. But here's the thing. You don't need to explain why your family is distant, or broken, or missing. You don't need to justify your scars to people who will never understand what it's like to heal, without apology, without closure, without help. Family pain is complex, too complex to be reduced to dinner talk or sympathy bait. Because once you reveal it, people either judge it, dismiss it, or try to fix it with words that cost them nothing. Some healing doesn't need witnesses. Some forgiveness doesn't need to be shared. You are not your past. You are not your parents. You are not your pain. Let the wound close, not with attention, but with honor. And let your silence speak what words never could. Part 6. Your next move after failure. You don't owe anyone a comeback story. You don't need to announce that you're rebuilding, or rising, or trying again. Failure is part of the blueprint, but what you do next, that belongs to you. When you fall, people get curious. They want the behind the scenes. They want the damage report. They want to know if you're still bleeding so they can feel whole. But this isn't a show, and your process isn't for public viewing. Your next move should not be predictable. It should not be explainable. It should not be up for discussion. Move in silence. Fail forward, with your mouth closed and your eyes clear. Because strength isn't saying, I'm going to fix it. It's fixing it. Before anyone knows you broke, let your absence be louder than your excuses. Let your next level surprise the ones who thought they had you figured out. The rebound doesn't need an audience, just momentum. Part 7. Your final decisions. You don't need to explain why you walked away, why you stopped calling, why you chose silence. Instead of another conversation that ends where it always does, nowhere. You don't need to provide a summary of your boundaries. You don't need a script for your peace. Because sometimes the clearest thing you can do is disappear, without drama, without closure, without compromise. Final decisions aren't made in noise, they're made in stillness. You sat with the weight, you replayed the scenes, you gave them space, you gave them time, and now you're done. Done explaining what should have been obvious, done handing out access to people who mishandled it over and over. They will ask, not because they care, but because they lost the control they thought they had. They want your reasons, so they can pick them apart, so they can look for weakness, a crack, a gap, an entry point. Don't give it. Don't explain your no. Don't reopen the wound, just so they can understand the scar. Your peace is not a group discussion. Your decision is not a debate. The strongest moves are the ones made after the overthinking ends, after the emotion cools, after the soul says, this far and no further. Let them call you cold. Let them say you vanished. Let them wonder what happened. Let them sit with the echo of a presence they thought they'd never lose, because you didn't leave to be chased, you left to be free, and you don't owe a roadmap to people who never walked with you. Your decision? Final. Your silence? Louder than explanation. Your absence? Earned. Not out of anger, but out of truth. They don't need to know. Not everything you feel needs to be shared. Not everything you live through needs to be posted. Not every win needs a witness. Not every pain needs a platform. This world tells you to be open, transparent, vulnerable to everyone at all times. But that kind of exposure isn't honesty. It's exhaustion. You don't need to be understood to be real. You don't need to be seen to be whole. Some things, the most powerful things, should live quietly inside you. Protected, respected, not because they're fragile, but because they're sacred. They don't need to know why you cut them off, why you stopped showing up, why you disappeared from circles that never knew what to do with your depth anyway. Let them think you're distant. Let them say you've changed. Let them talk, because you finally realized your truth doesn't require an explanation, and your peace doesn't owe them presence. You don't need to tell them how much you've grown. You don't need to prove that you're better now. You don't need to offer insight to people who never listened when you were breaking. Let your silence speak. Let your boundaries speak. Let your consistency say what your words never could. This world is loud, but you were never built to perform in the noise. You were made to move differently, with depth, with direction, with the kind of focus that doesn't broadcast itself because it's too busy being it. So the next time they ask, what happened to you? Don't explain. Just smile, still, certain, unbothered, because whatever you didn't say said everything.